Hello and welcome to Lyra. Chronic and acute pain are the most common and widespread health conditions in the world. They affect more people than any other health condition. And unfortunately, in Western medicine, we still have a very limited understanding of pain conditions, and the only treatment we really have for them is take some painkillers. On the other hand, there is Eastern medicine. And in Eastern medicine, as you will see in this presentation, they have a much more diversified perception of pain. They look at the causes and they have different treatments, natural treatments for different kinds of pain. In this presentation, we will look at what traditional Eastern medicine calls the B syndrome, and that is a pain condition that relates to your joints, muscles, and tendons. We're going to look at some natural remedies. We're going to look at what causes it and much more. So let's get started. But before we do that, as always, if you enjoy this type of content, please support our work by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Also, do not forget to hit the notification button. And also consider supporting us directly by becoming a Patreon or by giving a small PayPal donation. Links in the description box below. Without further ado then, let's learn about the B syndrome and what you can do about it. So, when musculoskeletal injuries are treated with the standard Western RICE protocol, which stands for rest, ice, elevation, and compression, and or with surgery and physiotherapy in the case of more serious cases, patients are often left with chronic pain and a restricted range of motion. And this can lead to a periodic dependency on painkiller medication, mostly NSAIDs, and the patients end up with a restricted activity potential. This RICE treatment becomes counterproductive after a certain time as its components create stagnation, which in turn leads to pain and restricted movement. On the other hand, in Eastern medicine, in traditional Chinese medicine, the pain specifically related to musculoskeletal body parts is known as B syndrome. Pain in TCM is seen as the result of blockages and interferences with the circulation or blockages of qi or ki energy and blood in the meridians. And this leads to pain, numbness, aching and stiffness in the muscles, joints, bones and tendons, also contracture of the extremities, swelling or deformity of joints, restricted mobility, etc. B syndrome is seen in Western medicine as rheumatic fever, rheumatoid arthritis, gout, and all of those are bundled together under the category of so-called autoimmune conditions. In Eastern medicine, B syndrome means obstruction of energy and blood. The main causes of B syndromes are of different nature and also of a different nature than autoimmune diseases. They can stem from an invasion of external environmental pathogens such as wind, heat, cold, and dampness. Also from qi or qi and blood deficiency resulting in stagnation, so in a stasis. And also from local injuries and problems with important internal organs such as the liver, the kidneys, and the spleen. And these impairments of those organs cause either excess or deficiency conditions and an unbalanced yin-yang state. And this can lead to pain along the meridians, joint pain and dysfunction, also pain connected to malfunctions and disbalances of organs. For example, in TCM, back pain relates to the kidneys and wrist pain to the heart. And here in the table on the right, you see a breakdown of some of the diagnostic signs relevant to B syndromes. In the left column, you have the pathology. In the middle column, the excess condition, and in the right column, the deficiency condition. So pain, for example, the excess condition is severe pain, stiffness, and cramps. When you have a deficiency condition, you will have a dull ache, weak muscle, and numbness. When it comes to movement, when you have an excess condition, it gets better with movement. When you have a deficiency, it's better with rest. When you have a pressure sensation, excess conditions make pain worse, and a deficiency improves the pain. When it comes to onset, the onset is sudden in an excess condition and slow and gradual in a deficiency condition. The temperature, more heat or cold sensitivity when it's an excess condition, and less heat or cold sensitivity in a deficiency. The skin color, strong skin changes, red, hot, and blue cold in excess, and little or no skin changes, so pale all the time in deficiencies. And when it comes to the pulse, excess is a fast pulse and deficiency is a slow pulse. So you see that TCM looks at it in a much more differentiated way, and when it comes to the diagnosis and the evaluation of the cause, they look at a lot of factors. When it comes to the pathology of pain and of key and blood circulation, this usually results from an invasion of the channels and collaterals by wind, cold, and damp factors due to the following reasons. First one, wind, cold, and damp factors which attack externally when perspiration occurs during exposure to wind, cold, or water. So dwelling in damp places or wading in water, or exposure to the changes in weather. Secondly, a predisposition of body type such as yang excess or yin deficiency, which can easily change those pathogenic factors into heat, and the heat attacks the cells. And thirdly, a weakness of the defensive protective key or chi energy. They also differentiate. In B syndromes, wind, cold, and damp factors usually combine. During the diagnosis and treatments, therefore, we need to differentiate by type by figuring out which one is the predominant factor and treat this one first. There are 4 major types of B syndromes mostly seen in clinic practice. First, moving B caused by wind factor. Secondly, painful B caused by cold factors. Thirdly, fixed B caused by damp factors. And fourthly, febrile B caused by heat factor. In the chronic stage, all of these above mentioned factors are usually accompanied by Qi or Qi, blood, kidney, and spleen deficiencies. Symptoms of the moving B syndrome are the following: aches, soreness, pain in the muscles and joints of the 4 limbs, the neck, the upper back and shoulders, limited joint movement, stiffness, a general lack of mobility, and it may also involve one or several joints at the same time. Wind is one of 5 climates that characterize all seasons, of course, and wind in the body resembles the wind in nature. Thus, it generates movement in what would otherwise remain motionless. Wind speeds up what otherwise would be steady and slows down and causes things to appear and disappear quickly. And wind is considered to be the backbone of many diseases in TCM. It affects the body in the same way as moving branches and leaves on a tree affect a tree. Consequently, wind is a yang phenomenon. When wind nefariously attacks the body by penetrating the skin and the pores, an important result in TCM is the emergence of imbalances of external origin caused by climatic aggression, pathogenic factors. Wind is also associated with spring, but a disharmony characterized by wind can occur in any season. And wind has a corrupting influence that rarely appears alone. Usually it is accompanied by some other external pernicious influences such as cold and damp weather. The presence of a nefarious wind even helps other influences to invade the body. TCM considers that diseases develop from wind. And wind that is directed toward the upper body has a pernicious influence on the yang. And because wind is light and airy, the damage inflicted by wind affects primarily the top. Wind is thought to also be initially manifested in the highest parts of the body, therefore especially the face, skin and sweat glands, and the lungs, for example, when you have a cold or a flu. When the body is invaded from the outside, its defensive capabilities are weakened, and it causes a mismatch in the opening and the closing of the pores in the entire body, leading to the invasion of other pathogenic factors causing diseases with symptoms such as headaches, nasal obstructions, painful and itching throat, facial edemas, abnormal aversion to wind, perspiration, as well as painful joints and sore muscles. So now that we understand where pain comes from according to TCM, what the B syndrome is, let's look at some natural remedies. The strategy is to dispel the wind and promote a blood circulation assisted by eliminating the cold and damp factors. Some natural remedies are, for example, muscles pain-free and attractiodes combination formula 225. This treats acute muscle sores or painful muscles and joints with wind cold and interior heat perspiration, and it also disseminates the lung qi or qi, so it stops the coughing, it clears heat, moves water, so it regresses edemas and suppresses also asthma. Secondly, there is the joint stiffness-free formulation, the Puraria combination formula 222. It treats the B symptoms with wind-cold signs such as aversion to cold, stiff neck and back, no perspiration, neck pain, stiff and rigid shoulders and upper back. When a few joints are affected, the inflammation is intense but short-lived and changes over days or weeks occur. And there is also an acute cervical myositis, tendonitis of the shoulder, bursitis of the shoulder, shoulder pain, frozen shoulder, lumbar disc disease, or trigeminal neuralgia. Then there is the pain-free formulation, clematis and Stephania combination formula 219. This formula treats the B syndromes with all three factors, wind, damp and cold combined. Indications for this formula are muscle aches, joint pain in the lower limbs, lower back pain, edemas, numbness in the lower extremities, pain in the trunk and extremities, abdominal pain, sciatica problems and knee pain. The next formulation is the inflammation-free formulation, cinnamon and animar henasaponin combination formula 216. And this treats wind and cold B syndromes with the sign of internal heat such as swollen joints, hot sensation at local areas, a white greasy yellowish tongue coating and a rapid pulse. Great for swollen painful joints, especially the lower limbs, when the joints are warm to the touch and they maybe even have a burning sensation and be swollen. When the pain gets worse at night, when you experience a reduced range of motion, muscular atrophy, you have difficulties walking and moving, suffer from hemiplegia, rigidity of the limbs, swollen feet, numbness in the extremities and paralysis as well as fatigue. There is a formula for gout also, which contains cinnamon, atrac, thiodes, and aconite. It's a modified 216 formula, and it's great for numbness and soreness in the limbs, when you experience weak lower limbs, painful infected and swelling joints, arthritic pain due to accumulation of wind dampness, urine retention, pain in the nerves, pain from gout, and pain from rheumatism. Fixed pain free is again a combination of Chinese clematis and acheranthis. It's recommended for pain due to blood stasis. It unblocks and relaxes the channels, invigorates the blood circulation, breaks up blood stasis, strengthens the tendons and ligaments. And indications here are neuralgia, lumbago, sciatica, postpartum pain due to thrombosis, edemas, hip internal rotation injuries, paresthesia, peripheral neuropathy, arthritis, gout, hemiplegia, leg pain, monoplegia, and numbness. Another formulation is for wrist and forearm pain, again containing atractylodes and erythema. It's formula 210. Indications here, it's recommended for pain in the upper limbs due to excessive dampness, and when you have pain and aches of the wrist, forearm, and elbow. Chronic pain-free contains turmeric and gentiana, amongst other herbs. It's formula 227, 209, and 202. It's meant to tonify the qi or qi and the blood, promote the qi and blood circulation to relieve the obstructions, and it's great for chronic painful joints, pale or swollen areas, local areas, deformities or contraction of local areas and extremities, when the pain gets worse at night, when you feel a numbness in the knees and feet, for general fatigue, soreness, and weakness of the lumbar region, seminal emission, leukorrhea, dizziness and the blurring of vision, pale and enlarged tongue body, white thin tongue coating in the kidney yang deficiency, red and shrink tongue body, dry and thin or no tongue coating in the kidney yin deficiency, as well as a weak and slow pulse in the kidney yang deficiency and a weak and rapid pulse in the yin deficiency. Next formula is for neuropathic pain, contains among other herbs Corydalis yanhuswo. From the roots of this plant there is a compound that is isolated called dihydrocorybulbine, or DHCB in short, and in tests DHCB has been proven to diminish both inflammatory pain, which is associated with tissue damage and the infiltration of immune cells, as well as injury-induced neuropathic pain, which is caused by damage to the nervous system. This is important because there are no current adequate treatments for neuropathic pain in Western medicine. Moreover, the researchers found that DHCB did not generate the habituation effect seen with continued use of most conventional pain relievers such as morphine. Time for conclusions then. In Western medicine, the causes of certain diseases or conditions resulting in pain and discomfort, such as fibromyalgia, are unknown. Most of the cited reasons for acute and chronic pain offered by the Western medical school is the explanation that those are autoimmune diseases. Having an autoimmune disease may put you at greater risk for developing pain in the tissues in the case of fibromyalgia or joints or of arthritis. However, autoimmune diseases do not exist. The body's intelligence does not allow it to attack itself. there are no cellular mechanisms showing an attack of the immune system on itself. This is a hoax of the Western medicine introduced to explain and treat pain with their painkiller drugs. In comparison, as we have seen, Eastern medicine, such as TCM and Ayurveda, offers plausible explanations about what causes pain. Energetic and body fluids imbalances with excesses or deficiencies and even stasis. And while having too little qi or deficiency can cause fatigue, too much qi leads to stagnation, like a traffic jam. But instead of too many cars on the road, qi stagnation leads to a backlog of bodily substances. This excessive buildup can result in pain. Here's an example of this qi stagnation. Let's say you enjoy jogging, but after every time you run, there is a nagging pain around or in one of your joints. The repetitive stress of high-impact activity can cause qi stagnation. A B syndrome is an obstruction which causes pain and discomfort, as we have seen. In addition, dysfunction of the kidneys, especially the kidney qi deficiency, can manifest also as joint pain. And this is because the kidneys are fundamental to all other organs. They contain the life essence. It's also the source of yin and yang energy. It's no coincidence, therefore, that most people begin to experience back and joint pain in the Middle Ages because kidney function declines beginning with around the age of 40. And we are also permanently interacting with our environment and climate elements such as wind, dampness, cold and heat. The first interaction is between the skin and those elements where most of the sweating glands are located, and the regulation of the body temperature through pore opening and closing takes place. Sweating glands are controlled by the autonomic nervous system, the ANS, and this is the ultimate control tower of all organs. Under the skin, we have the muscles, which coordinate, of course, the musculoskeletal system and create the peristaltic movements necessary to move fluids such as blood and lymphatic fluids. And thus, it becomes clear why the interaction between the skin, the muscles, and the ANS with wind, dampness, heat, and cold can trigger different health conditions related to joints, bones, and the muscles. And we've also learned that each pain is different, has different causes and different symptoms, and to alleviate the pain, the causes must be understood and addressed specifically. And we offer a remote meridian and energy blockages scan to establish the real causes of your pain, and so that you can then choose the right customized therapy plan for yourself. Hook us up for that. Information, contact information is in the description box below. I highly recommend that you first get your analysis done before you take any of the natural remedies that we've discussed, because they are specific to the causes and specific to your symptoms. And this must be first detected and established so you can choose the right therapy. With all that being said, I hope that you've enjoyed this presentation. If you did so, support our work by liking, sharing and subscribing. Also consider becoming a Patreon or giving us a small PayPal donation. Links are also in the description box below. It really helps us out a lot. Thank you so much for that, and until next time, stay healthy.